Man, these are some awesome finals, man. We now have a 2-2 series. The Thunder, it was getting real dicey there for a minute, man. And then through some switching defense and some mostly J-Dub and SGA two-man game to get SGA's personal headache known as Andrew Nembhard off of him, OKC found a way. Not the first time they were down 2-1 in these playoffs. Denver, it was a similar thing, and they also had to come back from a deficit in that one. And yeah, I mean, in the third quarter especially, man, it felt like through a lot of Nembhard's great defense on SGA, a lot of possessions where the Thunder were making like one or no passes as the Pacers were pressuring them early on possessions. You got Siakam helping around the free throw line. That's making Shea hesitate a little bit. You have these attempts of very, very high screens or multiple screens on a possession to get J-Dub or SGA free, but it just felt like OKC's offense was very, very flat and not dealing well with any of this pressure in that third quarter. There was a backcourt violation. They looked super gassed, and then you had a series of plays of like Obi getting threes off of Caruso helping off of him, and the bet that OKC always makes, which is we can guard enough of your threes well, even if you're going to get some, right? As you would have like Halliburton, Siakam, two-man game, whatever. And then in the fourth, we had a number of great defensive plays where Chet would switch onto Halliburton and hold up really well. That one airball three that Hallie had, I'm remembering. Now, as I say that, Halliburton did also score on Chet on at least one switch where he got past him for a layup. It might have even been two, but there were other plays in there where, like, you know, Chet switching cut off a drive that Nesmith could have had. There was a switch early in the fourth where they tried to get it to Obi, as I think he had SGA on him, and SGA jumped the entry pass. They get a steal. And then it felt like, this might be just me trying too hard, it felt like that one play might have freaked out the Pacers a little bit in that fourth, because it didn't feel like there were that many entry passes to, let's say, Siakam with a potential advantage in the fourth, kind of shades of 2 games ago. Although I use the term advantage lightly because there's not many guys you can go at on this OKC defense like that. And then there was one particularly great defensive play where after one of those switches, which led to iHeart on Nembhard, which was something that iHeart beat them on earlier with a little step-back two-pointer. J-Dub hard helped out of the corner. Scary to do against this Pacer team, but then somebody else closed out to the corner, and then it resets to Halliburton, and then Hallie tries to drive, and he's got like 3 OKC guys all over him as he misses something. So it wasn't just switching, but I do think there was some switching in the fourth that did slow down the initial Pacers drive and kick. We're going to get a bunch of threes, you know, the things that they were especially doing in that third quarter. And then on the other end, we had what felt like a decent amount of SGA J-Dub two-man game late there, where the goal was definitely to get Nembhard switched off of SGA, because the job that Nembhard was doing throughout the majority of the game on SGA was honestly some special stuff, even if SGA was still going to make some shots over him. And then whether that was like J-Dub driving and then there's a little bit of help and SGA is getting a 3, or Nesmith just simply not doing as good of a job on SGA as Nembhard is, where SGA is drawing fouls on him. There was one where the off arm was going pretty crazy, but he was able to get daylight for a fade too. And then besides that, you had like Chet and iHeart just going wild on the offensive glass. Caruso had what felt like the most important 19 points I can remember in a basketball game. Or 20 points now, my bad. Also, one double team that Kenny Hustle and Caruso had on Siakam, which was one of the times where it felt like Siakam was featured a little bit more in the fourth, and they got a turnover out of him. Dort was able to stay attached to Hallie late in that fourth to get that one steal where he just deflected it from behind. I mean, this OKC team, they can still just go to a different level defensively. And the way they were able to swing this game while still having certain stats that do tell a bit of a story with their offense. In this one, they had 10 assists and they shot 18% from 3 and only took 17 threes. I mean, it was so many pull-up 2s, fadeaway 2s, and floaters and everything, but also you had like a run in the beginning of the game where J-Dub just kept on attacking in a straight line on like Ben Shepherd or Nesmith or whoever to keep them in the game, as the double big lineup to open up the game was kind of bad because just with how much OKC is spaced and the way they could put iHeart in screen actions, they just had to cover way more ground than you would like to. So you'd have like iHeart having to close out to Nesmith, stuff like that. But eventually things settled down for him. But yeah, pretty much, man, the Pacers were the better team for 3 quarters, and then the Thunder said, we're not going back home down 3-1. And as the game went on, to get back to SGA, because for me, like the big story of this game was the process of their offense figuring it out. And some of this is, of course, with the defense, but, you know, they would have more plays of like SGA not bringing the ball up, him getting a little off-ball screen so he can catch it around the free throw line to where he doesn't have to work as hard to get to his spot versus Nembhard, right? And even then, it was still mostly really hard. And what's funny is his stat line is not going to completely tell the story. I mean, the 0 assists would probably be the one thing, but like he was 12 for 24. He was 50% from the field on 35 shooting, and it was still a very, very difficult game for him. And so for the Pacers, I mean, what they could look at for this next game, the future of the series, is like, one, we still give up the Nesmith switch because we trust that Nesmith is an awesome defender. Sure, he didn't do as good of a job on him as Nembhard did, but if he just simply doesn't give him a couple of fouls, then we could live with the results, right? The other idea is you just do everything you can to not give up the switch, but then that could result in just more bodies having to be moving than you'd really like, which could open up OKC getting more threes. I mean, I have to assume the Pacers are okay with the Thunder throughout, especially this game, like really not being able to get good threes off kind of at all. Until, again, the SGA 3 off the catch late with the J-Dub 2-man game. One of Caruso's threes was pretty open, although they're conceding those. So we'll see what it is moving forward, but yeah, this series is awesome, man. I do also just want to mention Chet again, because I don't have every single play ready to go in my head, but between rim protection, switching, whatever else in that fourth, many offensive rebounds. Also, we know that he got hit, in the shin when Nesmith was fighting around the screen. That was a gutsy game by Chet. I mean, everybody's going crazy. Like that game became basically a wrestling match on people battling for rebounds and all that down the stretch. So that's it, man. Hell of a game. Game 5 is going to be great. 2-2 series in OKC. Good stuff, man.